Hey, good evening. Hope you're well. It's Monday. Back again in one of my favorite places. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Purpose Driven Life. Back again, Monday, the 10th of May. And we have a great guest for you. So I'm going to just do my little intro, as I always do. I was washing up a few Sundays ago, maybe about 2 months ago now. And I just felt this, something inside me, an inner voice, just saying that I need to do this. I'm really, really keen to explore purpose, teach people about purpose, because I believe that we need to be walking in our purpose. And that voice said to me that I needed to have conversations with people so that they could speak about their journeys of walking in purpose, so that it might encourage and empower and inspire somebody else. Maybe somebody who's feeling lost, somebody who's maybe had time to reflect during the pandemic and wants to just not do that thing that they really don't like, that they hate, and that they can pursue something that is really burning inside them. So I've been having lots of different guests. I think this is my 8th week, all different walks of life, all different types of journeys, all very inspiring, definitely giving me food for thought. And yeah, we've got another guest. Excited because this is part of my family. We are related in law, so it's all cousins in marriage and in law and in love. That's all it is. It's all love anyway. So I'm going to welcome Joe, who is already on board. Let me find him. I keep calling him Joe. I know him as Joe. Insta thing. So he is about to join us. Good evening.
How you doing, Jay?
Hey. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm good, you know. Good. It was a bit of a rush. I don't know what the time just goes so quickly.
Listen,
It's
it's
because the
mad.
kids are going to bed later.
Yeah, it's mad. You know what? I think because of the it's lighter for longer now, isn't it, outside? Do you know what I mean? So it kind of throws us off with the time and that. So, but yeah,
Yes.
here we are. Mad.
Here we are.
Mm.
It's so nice to see you.
You
I'm
too,
hoping
man.
we'll do this in person soon.
No, definitely. We have to.
It's
Absolutely.
yeah, overdue. Ray is still seasoning up the burgers like Uncle Joe. So
I love
we
that.
can't eat them. We don't eat them the same way anymore. She has to make sure she puts a little bit of seasoning on.
There you go. There you go. You know, I'll bring some next time we come through. Still, definitely.
So yeah, I was just saying how I came to do this purpose stuff.
Yeah.
Purpose is always, well, I'd say for the last 4 years, it's been really heavily on my heart. I've really explored it. I've
Mm.
really um, researched it, got deeper with
Mm.
with purpose and knowing more and more about it. And I just, do you know what? It's so heavily on my mind and my heart that
Yeah.
even this week I was thinking, you know what? Because I devise these programs to work with young women,
Yeah.
and I thought, you know what? That's my next one. I'm going to devise one about purpose,
Mm.
because I feel like so many of us are just like going through life
Mm-hmm.
and we're not happy, we're not satisfied, we're just not, we haven't got that kind of enthusiasm because we're not
Absolutely.
walking in the way that we're supposed to, we're not walking in our purpose.
I
And
couldn't
you can
agree more.
see the difference
Mm.
in people just in terms of their happiness and their just their overall
Mm-hmm.
satisfaction with life and with everything. So
Definitely.
I really see people who are struggling, who are
Yeah.
not walking in purpose, and I
Mm.
don't want it to be like that. So this is why we have people like you who are
Yeah.
walking in their purpose,
Thank
to
you.
just give that wisdom and that knowledge about your journey and how you kind of got where you are really.
I'm humbled, man.
So
I'm humbled. I'm humbled.
you're humbled.
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
are always, you're like so humble all the time.
Do you know what? It's refreshing, and I'll tell you why. Because irrespective of whatever we may think about ourselves, and how even though we might feel like we're on the right path, for that to be recognized, do you know what I mean, by somebody else, is always an honor. It's always humbling to kind of to be viewed as being on the right track, if that makes any sense. Do you know what I mean? Because in all honesty, we're all just trying. Like, even I know some really really poor people. I know some really really wealthy people, and there's not really a disparity in their happiness when they're not sort of living via their calling, if that makes any sense. Do you know what I mean? So, like I said, I've got some people in my network that are incredibly rich and incredibly wealthy, and you can see the void when you speak to them. Do you know what I mean? And I know people with a lot less that are oozing happiness. Do you know what I mean? So it's something that I don't believe you can find overnight. Some people go their whole lifetime searching for what that thing is, and some people never ever even find it. So to be in a situation where we do have that sense of contentment because we're spending our time doing what we, in essence, what we love, it's a beautiful
Mhm.
thing, man. Definitely.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. So I always start off by asking the question, what does purpose mean to you?
Mm. To me, purpose means, without sounding cliche, I would definitely say that your purpose means your reason, your calling. That's what I would say. Um, and it comes in different forms depending on the individual and your circumstances. For me, I went a good period of my life um, feeling like my purpose was to sort of alleviate pressure and stress off of my family and my parents, who weren't that well off because we didn't really grow up with much. And going through sort of financial crisis and seeing what sort of toll that had on my parents, I felt like I sort of had to step up and go above and beyond the call of duty for I mean, this is at the age of like 16, 17. So I spent sort of the next 5 to 7 years really just sort of doing everything in my power to change our circumstances. And then sort of entering a whole new stratosphere when becoming a parent. I realized that everything I was previously chasing, it was superficial. Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't even, there were things that I was involved in at the time when when Nala was born, that I just said to myself, you know what, I don't even want to smell it. I don't even want to be around it. I don't even, do you know what I mean? I just didn't want to
Yeah.
attach myself to it in any way, because I just felt like the energy that I was welcoming by doing that was compromising.
Mhm.
And just the feeling and the attachment that I had to the idea of being a parent, and just what I knew I wanted to do for my child, was enough to make me leave everything that I previously thought was what I was supposed to be spending my time doing. Do you know what I mean? So in essence, God sending me my blessing in the form of a child helped me to reinvent myself, um, and pursue, a different purpose, a different calling.
Mhm. That's lovely. That is, you know what? I think most of the people that I've spoken to are parents,
Mm.
but nobody has actually identified their child being something that has kind of changed their course of their purpose. So
Oh, yeah,
that's definitely, maybe I just haven't thought about it that way. I definitely feel like it does, I think it puts things in perspective.
definitely.
Um, because you've got somebody else watching you as well.
Watching you, depending on you, and even at that point where they're brand new and they can't even speak, there's a connection that is just unrivaled. Do you know what I mean? And that sort of parent to child bond, I mean, until you experience it, you'll never know. But at that minute where you do, you just know. And I guess some people can't necessarily contextualize it or verbalize it or put some, put a, even summarize just what being a parent means for them. But I guess because I was sort of neck deep in some things that were compromising, it was probably a little bit easier for me to say, you know what, it's just sort of that classic thing where if this continues, something's going to happen over there. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I just think it's about being human and understanding, when you've had a blessing, and not sort of spitting that back in God's face. Do you understand? Because he picks and chooses as and when. I say he, she, that God picks and chooses as and when to bless his children. So I just think it's really, really important that we do understand or recognize when, we've been given, that opportunity or that luck. Yeah.
And she definitely is. They both are blessings, definitely. Oh,
Really.
I do you know what? Children, I just find them so amazing. And
Definitely.
you can just be so inspired. Well, no, you know how I feel.
No,
Nala
definitely.
really inspires me. Like, I
Yeah.
just think, but then it's about what she's around and
Definitely.
what you're instilling in her for her to have those kind of that confidence and that being
Absolutely.
able to explore all of her being. Do you know what I mean? And that there's
Yeah.
no limits to it. That's all I see when I see Nala. Like, there's no
That's beautiful.
limitations to what she can do. And
Absolutely.
that reminds me that even though I'm an adult,
Yeah.
there isn't any limitations, and that's
Definitely.
something that comes from definitely from you, from Shah.
Mm.
Yeah, the environment that she's in, that means that it's a good environment, it's a safe environment,
Do you know what?
and
I definitely like to think so, but the difficulty is as they grow older, they spend, I wouldn't say more time away from us, but you sort of end up sort of having this tug of war or this battle with their outside influences and your home teachings, because in many respects, because we know what we want for our kids, I feel like they it's Groundhog Day for them. Do you know what I mean? They have a routine at home. Their parents do things a certain way. We're looking at them with that protective eye, so we don't necessarily allow them to take the risks that they feel that they're ready for at the time. Do you know what I mean? But then they spend 6 hours a day around their friends. So, in all actuality, even though it's only 6 hours out of a 24-hour day, Nala spends 9-10 hours sleeping at night. When you add that to the 6 that she spends out of the house, we probably get less of her than her friends and her teachers. Do you know what I mean? So whatever we have to, consciously ask her day was. What was the best thing that happened to you today? What happened to you that did anything happen that that you didn't agree with or that made you unhappy, and why? You know what I mean? So it's for us, it's paramount that we identify exactly what her day looked like, so we can then counter that and then add our take on it. Do you know what I mean? Or even just learn, not even necessarily counter it, just learn, because we're not around her for that period. The way teachers and schools and friends and people do things now is different to what it was maybe when we were her age. So even where we might feel like we identify with what she might be going through, she's going through it in a different way. Do you know what I mean? So I just feel like it's just really important for us to just try and keep a grip on everything that's happening in their lives. Do you know what I mean? And also, to be honest with you, I say this to Shah all the time, and I'm not saying this because you're on the phone right now, but I commend yourself and Marlon just for the way that you manage your household. Do you know what I mean? Just for the vibe, the equilibrium, the balance, the love that the two of you have, and also how that transpires into your children. Do you know what I mean? Because Ray, Riley, and Roman are testament to how kids should behave. Every time I see them, they're so well behaved. They look like they're enjoying themselves. They're having fun. They don't want for anything, and they're obedient.
but yeah, that's good that they are like that
I
when
mean,
you're there.
obviously, there's
Yeah,
parts that I don't see, but do you know what I mean?
on the whole, yes, they are.
Yeah.
But then I think, do you know what? This parenting journey has really made me look at my relationship with God, right? Because I call him dad. I see him as my father, and
Wow.
there are times when I'm not obedient.
Mm.
And so sometimes when I see, especially when they get to that teenage thing, you know, this is why we have to spend time and speak to each other and be around each other, the kids be around each other, because we can impart these things and we
Mm.
learn from each other. There's a village, you know, we pray that Nala gets into the same school as the girl so that they've got, you know, she's got
Yeah,
those older cousins and stuff like that.
definitely.
But, you know, the teenage stuff is
Mm.
hard, you
Mm.
know, and it's like trying to keep having a positive relationship with them, not having this fight and this, you know, this battle and whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, it isn't easy,
Mm.
but I do feel like it's important about the environment, and you know, we're trying.
Yeah.
And there's times when we don't always get it right. And I say that to the kids, look, I've
Yeah.
never done this before, you know. I'm
Mm.
just kind of I'm winging it. I'm learning
No,
as I
but
go
even
along.
that's a powerful conversation to have with your child. Do you know what I mean? Because they look to us for everything. Do you know what I mean? Everything starts and stops with their parents. I remember being a child and thinking that nobody in the world was bigger than my parents. But then as I got older, I realized actually my dad's 5'9". My mum didn't really. Do you know what I mean? So it's just it's one of those things. But you know that's a really powerful thing to even just to be able to identify that, you know what, we don't know everything. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? So that's real.
yeah, definitely.
Mm.
So, what would you say your purpose is?
Mm. I mean, it's such a broad question. I feel like I have to marry what makes me happy with what I'm supposed to do, and I guess if that's the way that I have to view it, I would say that my purpose is to primarily adhere to my responsibilities, to protect my family, and to vent my channel my creativity, because it's a really interesting topic actually. I started my record label in 2012, and I've put out 4 mixtapes and 2 major label singles, and I still believe that my best music is yet to see the light of day. I do have a plan and a structure for it all, and I've written 3 films, etc. I've been busy, but I still haven't put my product out to the people. But just having that time, like I'm going to studio tomorrow afternoon, just having that time to write, listen back to what I do, and just sort of appreciate the product. Nothing makes me happier apart from my kids, obviously, but nothing makes me happier in terms of work and, you know, creating than writing music. So that is definitely a part of my purpose. Um, and then again, just to excuse me, go back to what I was just saying. Sometimes when I just fall back and just, you know, watch the girls play, you know, by themselves, with each other, with their cousins, friends, etc., and just to, you know, just to appreciate how they're growing. I know this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, without a question. So I would definitely say, you know, putting both of those complete opposites next to each other would in some way form some sort of amalgamation of my purpose. It's a really multifaceted question, but I'm just trying to give you what I can identify of that, you know, into one. But yeah, I'll definitely say to provide, protect, and to love my family, and to make sure that all of us experience our own happiness individually and together. That's probably what I'd say.
That is, it is, and I think purpose is multifaceted. I don't think somebody just has one thing.
Mm,
That's it, right? From, you know, you just, that's what I'm going to do, and that's it. I believe that purpose, I think purpose changes sometimes. I don't
mm,
think it, you know, you may start off on a particular path. You may have started off as being an artist, and now you're branching out and you're doing other things, but
yeah.
it's still within that creative, you know, if I was to put you in a suit and put you in a city in a working in a bank, that'd
Mm.
probably just be like make you want to cry, because it would it would completely take away who you are, you know.
Yeah.
The creativity is something that you can see when you see you, do you know what I mean, from the
Mm.
the way you dress, the way that you. I remember we was having a talk, I wrote it down, but I need to
Yeah.
remember where I've written it down.
Yeah.
And even in the way that you speak, there's a art, there's a creativity to it, you know.
Wow.
There
Yeah.
is. And it was like, wow, I need to just, okay. And I think I can relate to you because, you know, I didn't even realize how creative I was
Mm,
until I went through a really, really low period because I've been in this kind of like working in a certain job. It's almost like it took my creativity away from me.
yeah,
And it
absolutely.
was only kind of being put in having some time out of work
Mm,
that I became to realize, oh my gosh, but I am creative, but I like
yeah.
doing this and I like to write and I like to. So I think sometimes we've got this thing inside us, but
Mm,
because we're pursuing something totally different,
yeah.
it can stunt it a little bit, you know.
Agreed. Agreed. Definitely.
And I think it's yeah, it's important that that is really pursued. You know, I love just watching your family and how
Mm,
they dress and how, you know, everything is it's a creative. Your wife is creative, do you know what I mean?
definitely. She is. She
In
is.
so many ways.
Yeah.
So talented.
Yeah.
Her
Absolutely.
eye for things is absolutely exceptional.
No, I
You
definitely have
know?
to give her that. Most definitely. She's definitely creative. And, you know, in everything she does, I mean, she doesn't necessarily get the opportunity to do everything she wants to do because we're, you know, she has tons of responsibilities. But yeah, absolutely. I see counsel with her, you know, from her. Definitely. She's very creative. She's very knowledgeable. And I just believe that, it's about bouncing off of each other. Do you know what I mean? And sharing and including each other in everything that you're doing. Do you know what I mean? So
Definitely.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely. Wow, we could actually where I feel like I'm about to do some lives. You know, I've done a book recently about marriage
Mm,
and it just evokes so many conversations and when I look at the couples around us, my
mm,
goodness,
powerful.
I just feel blessed.
Mm,
Some
definitely.
real power couples, you know.
Absolutely.
Um, and I really feel like sometimes choosing, not sometimes, all the time, having the right person beside you is
Yeah,
so crucial to your purpose.
absolutely.
Because there's
Absolutely.
sometimes if you're with the wrong person, that
Hmm.
can steer you away from your purpose.
Oh, without you even realizing.
Definitely.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
it's a definitely a blessing that you are able to pursue that and you've got someone that supports it, encourages it and stuff like that. So the purpose is about being a family man, being in the creative industry. I'm hearing about these films, Joe. You know, you should never tell me these things, you know, because every time I see you, I'm going to be asking you.
Honestly, I'm itching to get them to market, but it's just listen. You know, like the first project for me was I started writing. I wrote this album, and it was called Tonight, and it had 4 parts to it. Well, it initially started as an EP. It was just Tonight, and then part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Um, and I thought, you know what, the first track's so descriptive. It's about this, award ceremony and about, this the undoing at the end of it and all these mishaps that happen. And then, when you listen to the song, you can hear, it's self-explanatory. So I wanted to craft the video that reflected what was happening in the music. But as I was writing, I got to, I went past the first track. I got to track 2. Cool, that was done, and it was just flowing. It was just flowing, and I knew it was special because when I wrote the first track, it took me sort of 25 to 30 minutes to write that song. But for me,
Wow.
it's still one of my best pieces of music to date. Um, but as I was scripting the the visual for the EP, I got to the end of the 4 tracks and I realized that this has been, it feels like it's cut short. Do you know what I mean? So I just continued writing like all the other songs that I had around it. I pieced this album together, and an EP worth of visual content just felt so limited. So as I continued, I just ended up with this feature length, but it became a treatment of like 38 pages. So even just
Wow.
going through the processes, I was a rookie. I couldn't completely wet behind the ears when it comes to that sort of thing. But I just knew that I had the content but not necessarily the structure. So I put all of my ideas down. I'm just writing everything down, and then I'm sitting there with, you know, like I say, nearly 40 pages of content, and I had to go through the process of putting it into script form and dialogue and character building and referencing, and it was just like, this is insane. But you know, as we did number 2 and got onto the third one, it was just kind of like it started to come a bit easier. Do you know what I mean? But even now, if I look, I mean, I haven't opened the first one in maybe 2 years, but if I was to open it now, it would be all over the place. I really do need to kind of get it in order, but I'm working with you know, some really close friends who do this for a living. So
Okay.
yeah, the I've got a project called Ambition, and that particular project is sort of 80% done when it comes to the script. So I'm excited about that one. My next album is called Gratitude. That's just gonna have like a really short piece to it in terms of, you know, the visual aspect. But after that, we'll go on to Ambition, and then we'll go on to
Someone saying Master 86 MA is saying he'd love to read them.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that's
What does Master 86 do? Is he involved in
I
film?
don't know. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. No
We'll
worries.
maybe
What?
he'll let us know what it is that he does, or
Yeah, yeah,
message
yeah.
Joe
Yeah,
directly
definitely.
afterwards.
If you
That would
can
be
hear me,
cool.
just message me, and you know, just let's connect the dots.
Mm.
That'd be
I
good.
think,
Yeah,
yeah, I just, even to listen to you and your process of writing
yeah.
just sounds so similar to writing for me,
Oh, I've got the
where
literature
you
side
just
of things.
write.
Yeah,
Say that again.
the literature, like in terms of the books.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I never knew it was going to be a book. It wasn't,
yeah.
I
Oh,
just was
okay.
writing how I was feeling and, you know, the things that I struggled with. And
Wow.
this, I'm talking about the first book. And yeah, then it became this thing. And, you know, the whole process took 10 years. So
Wow.
don't feel like this thing is
Mm,
a rush.
mm,
You know, I really believe that as long as you don't forget about it,
mm.
but you can
Absolutely.
gain more information, more knowledge.
Yeah.
Joe is James' friend Michael.
Joe is James friend Michael. Who's that from? James friend. Oh, okay, just message me, bro, because I can't see your profile at the minute. Thanks for reaching out. Yeah, hit me and let's connect.
It's like
Um,
me always struggling to read these little tiny writings.
the text. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think, you know, my encouragement to people who are maybe you started pursuing your purpose and then maybe it got hard or things got in the way, life got in the way, you had to go and
Mm,
start working, or, you know,
yeah.
purpose is something that it's never ending. You know, I
No,
just literally
absolutely.
wrote a blog for oh, I don't even know. Me and this lady connected, and she's got this company called Make Me Available, and they sell like apparel with like really positive wording on it. So the
Okay.
jumper that I bought was says hope on it.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like I've got wings when I wear this jumper, like literally. I just,
Yeah.
maybe it's because it's my favorite color, orange, but
Mm,
when I think about hope, it just makes me feel, and I'm wearing that. So whoever sees that is hopefully they'll feel the hope, or you
yeah.
know, for
Yeah.
whatever they're doing. And
Love that.
I just so she reached out to me and she said, "Oh, you know, can you write a blog?" And I was thinking,
Mm,
that should be really easy for me, isn't it?
mm,
Right.
yeah.
But it took me a little while, and I kept, you know, toying with what should I write about, and then I thought I may as well write about purpose.
Was it a
So I wrote
starting
this.
point for you? What was difficult about it? Was it the beginning?
Yes, because when I write what I want to write or what I'm
Right.
led to
Okay.
write. But for
Yeah.
someone to say to me, "Oh, can you write a blog?"
Yeah.
Well, how long is a piece of string? What
Yeah.
do
Of
you want me
course.
to write about? It
Yeah.
wasn't for her to kind of give me a subject area. I had to choose something
Mm,
to write about. I could have wrote about anything, but then I thought, you know what? I'm going to write about purpose. So
mm,
I've done this blog, and the process. I'm so like my worst critic. I don't know how
mm.
you with your
Yeah.
writing process,
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
I'm not very nice. I'm not very kind to myself. So I started it, then I was like, no, but especially when you've got to let somebody else read it.
Scrutinize it and make comments and take it in. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's probably how you feel when you release music, because it's like, wow,
Absolutely.
I know it sounds good,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
how are they going to receive it?
yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
little bit, daunting.
Yeah,
So
especially when it's
anyway,
personal to you as well. Do you know what I mean?
this is
Because
it.
it's an interesting process. Like when you're, because music for me is almost like taking a page out of my diary. Sometimes it's a bit fictional because I'm writing from perspectives of other people. It's not fictional, but it might not necessarily be my own experience. But in general, I always write about my experiences. So for me, it's one of those things where it almost feels weird if somebody else takes it in and just doesn't agree with it or doesn't like it because it's just your truth. Do you know what I mean? So there isn't any right or wrong about it. Do you know what I mean? So that, and I think that I found solace in that over the years, where it's just kind of like, you know what, this is my this is my take on my experience. It just is what it is. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely relate to that. Definitely
yeah,
relate to that. And I think that is where my writing is the best,
mm,
when there's no kind of, it's just, I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve. I'm wearing my heart on that paper.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so I definitely relate to that. But I want you to go a little bit into more detail about how
hmm,
you are where you are now. What was
yeah,
talk to us about the journey? That's why I was talking about the blog, because the
yeah,
blog was a representation of purpose being a journey and not a
yeah,
destination.
absolutely.
That was my point of it. So
Mm.
talk us through your journey.
Excuse me. So I mean, wow, where do I start? I mean, as in musically or life wise.
Just kind of how you got to this path. When did you realize that you love music? Is it, you know, some
Hmm.
people start from school because
Yeah,
that's a really, they're significant, because, I think about it. Society says to us we have to go to school, we got to go to college, well, that's what they kind of say, but
yeah,
not
of
everybody has that path. Not
course, yeah,
everybody's journey is going to involve going from education into
yeah,
work.
yeah.
Sometimes it's something
Hmm.
different. So yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's going back to being a kid, and I'm not say a kid, I mean sort of 7, 8, and doing the classic, watching videos on MTV. We had cable back then; it was Videotron. Um, Watching videos on MTV, putting in a VHS tape, recording your favorite songs, and rewinding it to learn the lyrics, and doing the same thing with audio cassette. Um, and then just over time, obviously as a kid, that's how I knew I liked what I liked at the time. I didn't know that that was going to be instilled in me as I grew, but then there was always music playing in my household, especially on a weekend when my parents got the time to enjoy it, because it's a throughout the week it's a rat race. So there was always Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, Commodores, all the good stuff playing in my house, and I've just always loved sounds and instruments and music. So that just stayed with me throughout the years. In school, I was listening to, I went to secondary school between 96 and 2001. So it was kind of like year 6 and year 7. It was just kind of like Tupac, Biggie, West Coast, Snoop. And then when it came to sort of 98, I started listening to a lot more East Coast rap. The first hip hop album I ever bought was actually The Life and Times of Sean Carter, which dropped in 99. So I was year 9 at these times. Um, and then I started listening to Nas, then I started listening to DMX, and DMX came through, and he was just like, it was a whirlwind. And then from there, it was just like the whole East Coast 98 sound of music it just swamped me. Do you know what I mean? I started listening to Mobb Deep, Tragedy Gaddafi, AZ. And when I heard AZ, I was just like, this is how you put rhymes together. Do you get what I'm saying? So like AZ, Nas, and I was always practicing and writing stuff. And by the time I got to college in 2001, me and my good friend Davin, like he was one of my closest boys, um, we just started writing together. We just spent that summer of 2001 in his house playing Machiavelli and the Rose That Grew from Concrete and all of the classics, and just banging weights and just writing music, and just remembering back to some of my earlier stuff. It was so dead, but I just knew that I loved it. Do you get what I'm saying? It was just like, what the hell is this? I listened back to it like 3 years later, like, did I really write that? But anyway, it was just like, I loved the process, and I just loved just craftsmanship of just putting rhymes together and just how it flowed, and experimenting with different beats, and just really just sharpening my tools as a wordsmith. Um, throughout the years, as I say, when I got to sort of like 17, started getting involved in some other things that kind of, you know, consumed all of my time. But I never stopped writing. I was always writing. And then I believe it would have been 2006 when I really started writing for my first mixtape, the musical Omnibus. Sorry, I'll go back a little bit. 2005, a good friend of mine, Bravado, who was part of a group called Topliners, he was performing at a venue in Streatham called Illusions. And I went down there to support him with his brother. And that's when I met DJ 279. And he was on the decks. And I just went up to him. I printed out these little demo CDs and I had like 4 tracks on there. And I went up to 279 and I gave it to him. And he said to, I remember him looking at me, he looked at me and went, "Is it good?" And I said, "It's the best." So that was it. I remember getting a phone call. This was a Tuesday. I got a phone call on the Friday because he did Friday Night Flavors. And my brethren was like, "Yo, you're on Trace FM." I was like, "No way." Yeah, he just played it. He didn't hit me up or nothing. There was contact details in there, but he just heard it and he just played it. And that's why I'll always have a special place for him, because he was about the music, you know? From then it was just like, all right, there's something there. Do you get what I'm saying? There's something there. It felt real. Somebody of stature recognized what I was doing. And he was the first person that really gave me a break. So when I finished recording the tape, I went to sit with him just out of respect. And I said, "Look, here's the project. I'd be honored if you could mix it for me." So he's like, "Cool." So he mixed the project. Then he sent, I don't know if he sent a few tracks or the whole project to DJ Primo. Yeah. And then he sent me a voice clip, excuse me, and it was Primo. He was saying, "Oh, I'm not just saying this because it's 279, but Smile is nice. You know, I really enjoyed what I heard, etc." And then he allowed me to put that on my mixtape, so it comes through it on one of the tracks. And then things just started building. Then he invited me out to New York, and I did a radio show with Marley Marl, Jojo Pellegrino, Infamous Mob, and a few others. In hindsight, I don't feel like I was ready for the opportunity at the time, just in terms of back catalogue and just, you know, being in America. And, you know, I mean, I did battle in Times Square actually with some guys from New York, and they didn't want to spit after us back. So I was always getting encouraging signs. But yeah, you know, I came back and I was still up to my activities. But then I thought to myself, you know what, that was really refreshing, and there's definitely something there. So I dare not turn my back on it. But the following year, my dad fell ill with cancer. So I had just moved out at the end of 2007, but I moved back home, myself and Shah. And, you know, bless her, she helped me look after my dad. And I was out there still grinding and doing my thing. And then when things got a little bit better, sort of like the next year, I decided that I was going to give it a proper shot. So I just took a lot of the proceeds that I'd made, and I helped out a rising company called Black Grape, which Eddie Caddy was signed to at the time. So they did a restaurant in North London, and they put on the O2 show. So I helped them with all of that. And then I just thought to myself, you know, this is a perfect time to create my second project. So I did Clarity, and there was a song on there called Enza, which the beat was sent to me by Nutty P. And it just felt like nothing that I'd spat on before. It just felt fresh, but I could really rap on it. So I laced the track, and we put the project out on the 1st of the 1st, 2010. I'll never forget. And then it was just really weird because I started to receive all of this attention musically for this one song. And then off the back of that, I started getting festivals, Tea in the Park in Scotland. What did I do? We did radio shows, and I started getting spot plays on 1Xtra, and then I got playlisted on Radio 1. And then myself and my managers at the time, Brian and David, we got excuse me, we got a small office in Leytonstone. It was just like this tiny little room, and we were just all sitting in there, just grafting and just creating opportunities. And it just kind of felt like the early stages of Rockefeller, when Dame, Jay, and Biggs were just in their bubble, in their zone, just creating opportunities. Just 3 of them, no pressure, no expectations, no nothing, but just hungry, you know. And we had that moment, you know. It was incredible. And off the back of that, I said, you know what, people love this record. I want to go again, but do it bigger and better, because Enza had no hook. So I said, how can we formulate something that picks up where we left off, but then takes us sort of like, Enza took us from A to, I don't know, K. So what we wanted to do now is go from like L to Z with the next record, you know what I mean? And I remember myself and Brian, my friend and my manager at the time, we were sitting in the PFA Awards after party. I think, was it in, not Movida? I can't, one of them clubs anyway, I can't remember where it was, but we were sitting there, and then Shirley Bassey's Big Spender came on.
Wow.
And it was a bit of a eureka moment, and we just thought we looked at each other at the time, and we're just like, this would be crazy to sample. So we took the idea, we sent it to Nutty P. He sent us something crazy, but it just felt like it was missing something. So we then got some other producers involved, Trey Jean-Marie and Track Lakes, who I worked really closely with at the time. And then we cut the record. And my lawyer at the time was a guy called Ben Mawson, who now manages Dua Lipa and Lana Del Rey. So he was looking after Lana Del Rey at the time, but at the time she was just Lizzie Grant. So she was just, you know, she was unknown, but a really cool singer. And he said, I told him what I wanted to do. I said, look, I got this record, I've done my verses. And he said, like, this sounds massive. I got this girl that, you know, she could probably cut the hook. So I said, like, yeah, I'm cool. I'd love to give anything a try at this stage. So he's like, all right, cool, I'll arrange it. So she came down to the studio, this American girl called Lizzie Grant, and we just vibed, and she cut the hook. The song was done. And then later on, it turns out that she was Lana Del Rey. And
wow.
The song just kind of, it was weird. We gave it to Zane Lowe at the time, who was on Radio 1, and he made it the hottest record in the world. And we got so much acclaim, and then all of these record labels started coming, and it was all new to me. It was new to me. We spoke to Ireland, we spoke to Sony, we ended up at Warner with a guy called Anton Partridge, who I'm still close with today. Like, he's, you know, really cool and really honest guy. And yeah, it was just, you know, ended up getting into a record situation where I was now sort of like on the platform that I'd always wanted. So we used this opportunity. It was just a 2-single deal. We used this opportunity to really, you know, just exploit our chances. We did tours with, you know, we did the Mobo tour, toured with Wale, toured with Nas, toured with Pro Green, and then who subsequently ended up being on my single. And it was just a whirlwind of an experience. And, you know, I signed this to September 2011. Nala was born October the same year. So like 3 weeks after I signed my deal. So I had all of these things going around in my head, like, you know, like I've got to make this work, and pressure and time. And because I'd previously left what I was doing, finances were tight. Even though I signed this record deal, it wasn't as lucrative as I thought it was going to be. So I'm just like, I've got to dig in the tunnel and just make it work. Recorded all of these mixtapes, was handing them in. And it was round about the time when, you know, Tiny had just become this supernova with Pass Out. So all of these labels are looking for another Tiny. But I grew up listening to East Coast 95 rap, so I'm not going to give you a Pass Out, you know. So when it kind of got to like I did Top of the World with Pro Green, and then Brand New Style with Ed Sheeran. And the music I was submitting, it was like the Tonight song that I was telling you about earlier. Mm-hmm. But the label, they wanted pop. Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm just like, we're having this psychological duel now. I'm trying to give you what I think, you know, would really do the numbers and, you know, would work for me as an artist, because irrespective of what they were looking for in terms of sound or sonics, if an artist is making a song that's not them, you're going to see it and feel it. So I just never believe in just ticking a box or making music for the sake of it. Anyway, I had a really diplomatic conversation with my A&R, and we just decided to part ways because our vision wasn't aligned at that point anymore. And he obviously had to do what was necessary to stay in the job. I had to do what was necessary to further my career. And it didn't mesh anymore. So during my stint at Warner, the MD was a guy called Christian Tattersfield. So for those who are sort of like, you know, musical or involved in the business, they'll know that he done East West Records and was the first person to sign Jay-Z in this country.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, he signed Reasonable Doubt and released songs like Ain't No Nigga and some other bits and pieces. So he was the MD of Warner. I got an email from him in 2014, which was the year after I left Warner, and he was just like, "Oh, you've gone quiet. What are you up to?" Because during my time at Warner's when I started Portfolio Music, because I wanted to help some local guys. So sorry, I kind of skipped over that because there's so much going on, but that was the reason why I started my label, because I was surrounded by young, sick producers like Blinky and Mars and all these other guys, and they're just like, they were like my little brothers just from the area. Do you know what I mean? I just wanted to help them, you know, sort of at the same time when I was helping myself. So yeah, Blinky's gone on to have massive success. Shout out to him. And you know, Christian, he just wanted to sort of see where I was at the point at which I left. So I said, cool, like let's meet up. I'd love to sit down with you. We sat down and I sort of told him that about Portfolio and who I'd signed and what I was currently doing and where my head was at and what I foresaw for the next sort of 5 to 10 years. And he was just like, this is incredible. Like, let's do a deal. So we spent 6 months negotiating, and we managed to partner on the publishing side of things, which was sick. You know, just the experience of being around somebody as knowledgeable as him. It was incredible for me because I was still learning the business. So during that time, I signed a production duo from East London called Dr. Vates, and they've gone on to have great success as well. They're incredible. But something that sort of came to light during the time when I signed them was that they had in 2013 they produced a song, and being young hungry producers, they just sent it out to a bunch of artists globally and just wanted to see who could, you know, sort of, you know, do the song justice. 2015, it transpired that the song that they'd sent was to an artist called Bryson Tiller. So Bryson Tiller's biggest song, Don't, was done by Dr. Vates, two brothers from Canning Town.
Wow.
But we went through this whole legal case because they hadn't credited the boys. At first, their names were everywhere online. But then when their team started to realize that, you know, obviously we were aware that they were profiting off the song and they weren't crediting us, they pulled it down. So we went through this big rigmarole. But yeah, just in short, that sort of opened my eyes to the seedy side of the business that I hadn't experienced before, in terms of copyright and ownership and credits. But that was an interesting experience. So since then, you know, Dr. Vates has still been active. They've had Ringtone. They were signed to Polydor. And sort of fast forward to present day, I'm working with who I think is arguably one of the best singers I've ever heard, a girl from Sweden called Ailey. Her debut record was called Singing Without You. And we signed, actually, do you know what? We started speaking 2015 via a mutual friend. So I went out to Sweden to meet her, but the deal never happened. I just stayed cool with herself and her family, etc. And in 2019, you know, we sort of reconnected and she was like, listen to this, sent a song through, and it was sort of like a testimonial, like a tribute to her late father who passed away from cancer. So when I heard it, it really struck a raw nerve, and I just said that, you know, this feels right. This feels like the time. If you're with it, let's move, you know, because my interest hasn't waned. Yeah, we did the deal, and you know, we're really close now. We're working together. She's licensed to Atlantic Records, and that particular single, which was released in 2019, has now gone on to do over 5 million streams and counting. So there are a lot of great things happening, and you know, we're still spinning a lot of plates. But just to summarize, that's sort of been the journey in a nutshell. Yeah.
Wow. And look at that. I've known you for all this time and I didn't even know all of that journey.
I know, crazy.
It is crazy, really crazy. And it just kind of, to me, epitomizes your humility, because it's very rare that we actually talk about your music or what you've done, or who, you know, this is the first time I've actually heard. Marlon knows because he listens, and but yeah, I didn't know all of that. So I'm just like, I'm sitting in front of this superstar that, you know, you've always been a superstar to me anyway. But
I appreciate it.
But I think
It's been
You know
illustrious. I'll
what?
definitely say that. It's definitely been an illustrious journey.
What really stood out to me
Mm.
are the names of some of your music. And I'm only just saying the ones that I can remember.
Yeah.
But Ambition is a project that you said you're working on.
Yeah.
Clarity,
Yeah.
Gratitude.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm all about words. I'm all
Mm.
about what that means. And those three alone are very
Mm.
deep, very big, and it's very important. And I just feel like especially as a mum of children listening to some of this stuff,
Yeah.
some of this music is
Mm.
just, it actually really upsets me
Mm.
when I actually, you know, oh, I'm so rubbish with the names of these artists, but it's the one that went number one over the weekend.
Yeah. Tion
Body.
Wayne and Russ.
I saw the lyrics written down because it's comes on the radio, the kid, the kids are sick. But I like to look and know what they're actually talking about because I
Yeah.
think that, there's the power of the tongue. It's
Yeah.
so important what
Absolutely.
my children are reciting. What are they saying? What are they saying over and over again?
Yeah.
So when I read the lyrics to this thing, oh
Mm.
my goodness,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
it absolutely devastates. I know it's catchy, I know whatever, but
Yeah.
you know, I know Capital Extra is obviously a radio station, whatever. It's something that the kids like to listen to. I've banned it in my car because what I don't understand is how the playlist
Yeah. Oh, you banned it, yeah?
continues. I don't like it. I don't let it happen in my car anymore
Yeah, I respect that.
because for me, that little time of the school run,
Mm.
the lyrics of what they're playing on that playlist in the school run when
Yeah,
the kids are in the car,
it's
I'm
true.
like, listen, there's an agenda.
Yeah, yeah.
So, look, Jernine, young artists have been ratchet since I'm aware of that. But now I'm a mum. Now I'm a mum. It's heard differently.
Yeah,
Do you understand what I mean? Do you know
absolutely.
what? Even to be honest, some of
Yeah,
I listened to Total. I used to love Total back in the day.
yeah,
I can't remember. I think it's their second album.
yeah,
And I don't know, I think I was at my mum's house and I found all my old CDs and I put on this Total CD that I used to like proper jump to. And
yeah.
when I heard the thing, I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's mad. Do you know
Was
what?
just
This is the thing. Like, there's always a top line that sort of hooks you in. Do you get what I'm saying? Like the melody or whatever else, and the beat. But then sometimes when obviously we listen to lyrics, especially now because we're parents. But when you carve away the top layer and you take it in, and this is the reason. I'll be honest with you, Jay. Like, a lot of my subject matter has changed. Do you know what I mean? Because I was young once. I used to talk about some things. Like, do you get what I'm saying?
yeah,
You know, we've all seen things and we've all done things, and basically how I look at it now is, can I justify letting my kids listen to my music now and feel comfortable? And
that's
if
it.
the answer is no, then I'm not going to put it. Well, I mean, there's still certain things because music is music, innit? And you can't hide some of your reality. You still got to be able to convey yourself, but I just think we just got to be mindful as to how we articulate ourselves. Do you know what I mean? And just not be derogatory about what we're saying. If it's your truth and it's your story and you stand by it, then cool. One day you're going to have to explain that to your kids, but you should be comfortable doing that because that's your reality. But
Definitely.
if you're promoting a level of profanity that you can't justify, or your kids will frown at you for doing that, then I think you have to reevaluate, because the minute you become a parent, your energy switches. It's not about you anymore. You know.
And listen, I can't see Vibe SK Vibe Maker. Listen, I agree with freedom of expression, but my kids
SK,
ain't
my
listening
guy,
to
long
it.
time.
They're not listening to it. That's all I got to say. They can put out whatever they want to, but for me, especially with what I'm doing and what I'm trying to convey, is about we need to be mindful of what we're consuming,
Yeah,
right? You're an adult, so you have control of what you're consuming.
yeah.
As
I
a
even had to look at
parent,
Nala with a side eye. She put on Pop Smoke, and I was like, you know what I'm saying?
which is asking how old my kids are,
Huh?
7, 11, and 13.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, listen, everyone's got their opinions. This is how I feel about it. I'm not, you know, don't get me wrong. I don't like, oh, you can't listen to no music. My kids
Mm,
love music. There's going to be stuff that I like and stuff that I don't like, but I can't feel
mm,
comfortable playing it and kind of encouraging them. So
mm.
they're not naive. My kids definitely are not naive. They go to school. They're aware of, you know, a lot more than, you know, I want to. Do you know what? The kids play music in the house, so it's not behind my back. Listen, I wouldn't even know about these tunes if it weren't for my kids. Do you know what I mean? It's like the other day, like you just get educated from your children,
Yeah.
but sometimes I have to ask them questions. We have conversations a lot, especially because the youngest one is 7,
Mm,
right? So a 13-year-old and what she's listening to, I'm always telling her, you need to be mindful because
yeah.
your brother is not as mature as you are.
Mm,
So there's certain things that you know, there's things on. Remember, when we were watching Coming to America too.
yeah, yeah,
We thought it was going to be like, you know, this vibesy, you know, happy family kind of thing.
yeah,
Then we were like, oh, hold on a minute, this is one
yeah,
ain't for the kids. This is what I'm
yeah,
saying. So as our, you know, everybody's different. This is the
yeah.
way that I'm doing my parenting thing, but I'm mindful about what my children consume, what words they're
Mm,
repeating, what messages is being recited in their head, you
mm,
know. And for me, it's important. Okay, I'm trying to show them other things. There's other songs that you can listen to. I'm
yeah,
not saying that's the only music. I listen to some of my mum's music, but I wanted to listen to Biggie Smalls and all of
yeah,
the other Snoop Dogg and the kind of like artists that you were talking about. You
yeah.
know, my brother took me to. My love of music comes from my brother. He took me
Mm.
to see Biggie Smalls. We went to Snoop Dogg's concert.
You saw
Um,
Biggie live, yeah?
yes, I did. I was
Crazy,
so blessed. Yeah,
crazy,
Brixton
crazy.
we went to. I can't even remember how old I was. I didn't even know half of the things what he was talking about, but
Yeah,
I had an older brother, and
yeah.
that's it. Look, in my house, we play drill, but we also play soul and reggae. Cool. Yeah, we have. I don't play no drill,
Yeah.
but I do play soul and reggae.
Yeah.
You know what? I have to be honest with you.
Mm.
I'm not saying, or I'm not an expert on drill music,
Yeah.
but I am. Some of the way that the music sounds to me
Yeah.
doesn't make me feel comfortable.
No, I hear you.
It makes me feel uneasy. Like some of I
Yeah.
find it a little bit demonic. I'll be honest with you. That's how I feel, but that's my
Mm.
opinion. I'm not saying
Yeah.
whatever you do, whatever you listen to, that's up to you. That's just how I feel.
Yeah,
I
but there's
like
a
to have.
reason why you feel that way. But if it naturally makes you feel that way, then you can't deny energy. Don't get me wrong. Like there are a lot of drill songs that I'm not necessarily talking about drillings and stabbing, but it's just like that's the nature of the music. It's called drill for a reason. Do you get what I'm
Mm,
saying? That's how it started. It started on, you know, it's a gang thing. Like it's a knife game, and we're gonna drill. That's what we're about, drilling. But creativity knows no bounds. So as time has sort of transcended and things have moved on, the subject matter has diversified significantly, but there's still a whole bunch of drill artists that do talk about killing and drilling.
mm.
So
Yes. So, each to their own. But
yeah,
listen, I'm about that positive.
yeah, absolutely.
There's still Tupac that I listen to. One of my
Yeah,
favorite songs. I love Tupac.
yeah,
I'm trying
absolutely.
to think because when you were talking about recording the videos and reciting the lyrics, I'm trying
Rewinding
to
it
remember what
and
the actual song's called. Um, Keep Your Head Up. That's it. Sorry.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
remember that summer I was in America at my grandparents' house,
Mm.
and literally I don't know how many times, but I wrote it out lyric by lyric,
The
so I still
lyrics,
know the
yeah,
words for that song. But when I
yeah,
listen to that song, it uplifts me.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just, I want to be uplifted when I hear music. I want music that's going to make me feel happy and
yeah,
dance. And, there's obviously time for music that makes you feel. I was listening to, they did a tribute for Mary J. Blige on My Soul.
yeah, yeah,
And that had me all in my, like, because some of her songs was deep. Like,
yeah,
you felt her pain, you felt her emotion. So,
absolutely.
I get it. But you know, I'm 40 now, so I'm allowed to say I don't want to listen to that music.
Yeah, of course.
I've got
You
to
know
do
what?
that.
Just to touch on what SK was saying,
Mhm.
he's right in the sense that kids are going to listen to what they want to listen to. But I think, you know, obviously this is a live. He doesn't know your lifestyle and how you live and how you raise the kids, and he's got a valid point. But from your standpoint, I believe what you said is spot on as well. The fact that it's an immersive process and you do it sort of collaboratively. You allow your kids to listen to music in the house. Do you know what I mean? So at least my whole thing is that, like, it needs to be normalized. Sorry, not normalized. It needs to be done in a way where they can they're understanding what's going on, but they're not immersed in it. Do you get what I'm
That's
saying?
it.
So it doesn't become their reality and their normality. Do you know what I mean? Because if we're trying to guide them away from what we believe is wrong, in my opinion, it's about allowing them to take it in, understand it, and then for us to give them our take on why we think it's wrong. Because one thing I've realized, there was a time when, you know, we used to always, like, you know, me and Char obviously listen to what we listen to, and we would forget sometimes. Like, I was rolling to Flesh and Muff, not Flesh and Muff, It's Dark and Hell is Hot. It just plays automatically on the Bluetooth in the car when we get in. So we all got in. This was yesterday, and then I think it was like track 6 or something. Get at Me, Dog. It was just like, is effing and blinding. There's X in it. Do you get what I'm saying? This is so. And then our instinct is just to quickly turn down the radio when it comes to the swear words, but then turn it back up when he's saying everything else. But you know what? In school, kids are going to swear.
Mm,
They're going to hear other people swear. And I don't want them to experience things outside of the house that they're not experiencing inside the house. So why are they alienated from swear words in the house, but people are doing it outside? Is this like a part of the world that they're not exposed to internally? I want them to learn everything in our domain. Then when you go outside, you're not wet behind the ears. Do you get what I'm saying? And you can sort of
mm,
decipher, actually, do you know what? I've heard that before. I know that's wrong. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's so
yeah,
difficult. As I was saying, like, they spend all this time away from us. Do you know what I mean? And then, yeah, I just feel like, you know, for me, it's just about sort of guiding them the best way possible, but not wrapping them in cotton wool.
definitely.
You feel
And
me?
you know, for me, these things, these programs, this music, it evokes conversations, it evokes discussion, it explores things, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I think the other day, I can't remember, it was a Central C. I'm learning about all these people.
Central C,
Central C was
yeah.
on, and I'm like, okay, what is he saying?
Mm,
So we had to actually like
yeah,
break it down. And I'm like, okay, do we think this is appropriate, what he's talking about, you know, for your impressionable ears, you know,
yeah,
especially because you want to play that music and your brother's 7 and then
yeah,
he
yeah,
wants to rap as well. So, you
yeah.
know,
Yeah, yeah,
so for me, I think it's definitely a balance. I do feel like the more you restrict and you say no, is the more that they will um want
100%.
to do things, you know, behind your back. The thing that you're saying about the swearing, I agree with you. You know,
Yeah,
we've had lots of conversations because some of those nice year 6, I'm a proper mummy. I've got 3 kids now. Of course I'm a proper mummy.
right.
Why are you
Yeah,
coming for
sure.
me?
Come on.
this is this is my views. I'm
SK,
allowed
what
to
are you
have my
talking
views.
about?
I am a proper mummy. Um, but I'm also somebody who is open. You know, I work with young people, so it's not like I don't have deep conversations, or
Mm,
you know, I'm not saying no, you can't do this, you're banished from, you know, that's not how I do things.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I do feel like
you sound like my mum now.
I sound like your mum.
That's what he
Okay,
said.
yeah. Well, listen, we're all entitled to our opinions, so you
Absolutely.
know, I think for me, if the message that I'm trying to portray to my kids, mine is of positivity,
Mm,
of, you know, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I, you know, I'm open with my kids about stuff. So yeah, I think it's important to not just say no, but to have conversations about things, you know.
100%.
I think it's so important. And sometimes your kids can educate you. They could
Yeah,
actually say,
yeah,
well, Mum,
yeah.
actually, this
Absolutely.
song is actually positive, or
Yeah.
this is what he's talking about. Maybe he was just, this is what, you know, but I don't
Mm.
know. I just feel like I need to give them different narratives.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my
100%.
goal, you
Yeah,
know. I want them to experience all different types
yeah,
of life, of the world, so that they're equipped to go into the world and be able to thrive,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And it's also about giving them experiences that can just broaden their horizons, you know,
yeah.
which is why, you know, I know for you as well, we love
Mm.
traveling because it
Yeah, of
teaches
course.
them
Definitely.
something different.
Mm.
You know, some of these kids, they've never seen anything but from being in London on these streets, you know.
Which is mad,
Well,
but it's no surprise why they are how they are, because they're product. You are a product of your environment. If you're taken in different surroundings, naturally your outlook's going to be more diverse. You know,
yeah,
you know.
somewhat. Dave, I listen to Dave
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
I do listen to Dave. Listen, my husband loves rap, you know, so I'm not sheltered to some of these things. I'm just in a place where, yeah, different things are for different people. I like love. I love light. Yeah, I'm in a place where I don't want to, there's negativity everywhere I go. So when I'm listening to
Mm.
music, or, you know, sometimes even the films, don't get me wrong, I watch them, but sometimes I'm like, no, today I just need a nice comedy, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something
because I
light-hearted.
turn on
Yeah,
my social media and it's like, there's been another killing, there's been another
yeah,
stabbing,
yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
be consumed. I know it's happening, but I don't want that to just be consuming me every single day.
You know what? I've
Um,
learned to detox from this thing. You know, Jay. Like,
I do.
yeah. I just like, I can't, I can't open Instagram all the time. Do you know what?
I hear you.
I don't. Everyone's in a rush to show you the best, excerpts of their life, and it's not the reality. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I wish for everybody it is, and I hope everyone's enjoying themselves and having the best time ever. But you know what it is? It's it's a visual poison. Do you know what I mean? To open the phone and see all of this different content that, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it doesn't really bother me, in the sense that I'm not easily swayed, or I'm not easily manipulated. But for a lot of people, when they open Facebook, Instagram, whatever they're on, whatever social media apps you use, there's just this influx of content. There's just so much going on that doesn't even allow your own breathing capacity.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, your brain needs its own time to breathe, and even just to formulate your own opinions, and just to be sure of what you think. Do you know what I mean? Because, I mean, yeah, it's just too many opinions and just too much content. Do you get what I'm saying? So for me, I have to take time away from it. I love it because it's, you do get to stay in touch with the rest of the world that way, and see what's going on just at the click of a button. But I just think it should be consumed in doses.
This is why I say that, you know, social media is a blessing and a curse. You know, it's a blessing that
Mm,
me and you can have this conversation and we're
yeah,
in our houses, you know,
absolutely.
but at the same time, yeah, you know, what some people put on their social media, I'm just like, well, why, what are you getting from that? What's the purpose? You know,
Mm,
my, you know, I look at my Instagram and you know, even that word influencer, there's
mm,
people who are influencers, and I'm like,
yeah,
well, what is it that you're influencing?
yeah.
What are you doing?
They're
You
influencing
know,
people that are easily led.
yeah, but what is it? If you were influencing people that easily led into something that was positive, then I'll
Mm,
be okay. That makes sense. But
yeah,
you know, some of the things that I'm seeing. So for me, when I wouldn't say that my whole everything is about social media, but when
mm,
I come on social media, when I have
yeah,
discussions, when I am putting content on my social media, I
yeah.
want it to make somebody think. I
Mm,
want it to encourage, to inspire,
mhm,
to make people understand that you can achieve anything that you want to.
yeah,
You've
absolutely.
given you know, your testament to your journey. You've walked us through your journey, but that is to, for me, that can say to the person who's on the other end of their phone watching this, that this is
Yeah.
possible.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know,
Most
not,
definitely.
oh, I'm out here in wherever living my best life. Ha ha
Yeah.
ha. Look, you're in England.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, this is,
And this is
for
what
me,
I'm saying
it's
about
like,
social media. This is the whole thing. Like, yeah, you're spot on.
this is achievable. He's had this journey, he's got this experience of the music industry, and now you know, I talk about so much about passing the baton on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so important that you are using the wisdom that you have to impart on the next generation.
You know what? Thank you first and foremost, and secondly, I believe that it's, without sounding cliche, it's so important because there wasn't enough of that when we needed it. Do you see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Um, I keep, anytime I make reference to an older person that's helped me, I speak about a guy called Deji. They called him DJ, and basically he did something for me that I didn't realize that he was doing at the time. And he was my older cousin's friend. Um, but when I was young and I was out doing my bits and pieces, he basically he made me believe that there was an investment opportunity, but I needed to get myself together and get my money together, etc. So he turned, without going into too much detail, he basically kept moving the goalpost. He said to me, look, there's an opportunity, you need to go and get this much. I was like, all right, cool. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm young, I'm a teenager, I'm broke. How am I going to do that? So I hit the road, I did what I needed to do. I came back to him, I was like, yeah, like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready, man. Like, let's go, what are we doing? He's like, you know what? So yeah, man, that opportunity's not even there again, but there's something else. There's something else. But what you got to do, like, you need to basically go and get double, what I told you last time.
Lost you. Oh, that's it.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I'm back, yeah. Yeah, so I was just like, right, how am I going to do that? So anyway, I went away and I made it happen and came back to him and he told me the same thing, but he goes, you know what? It's not going to be immediately, but in about a month's time, if you're ready at the time, this one here is going to be game changing. Go away and get yourself together. I'm just sitting there like, what he's asking me for without saying too much, it was not small. Do you know what I mean? So I was just like, I was sitting there scratching my head. But anyway, I went back to the drawing board. I made it happen. I came back, sat with him. I was like, yo, like, I'm in. Like, what are we doing? Like, are we ready to go? And he's just like, you know what? You managed to save all of that money in that short space of time because I told you that there was an opportunity. What do you need me for? So I was perplexed. I was bamboozled. I just looked around like, what? Then it hit me. He was actually doing me a favor. He was telling me, go away and save. Get yourself together. Figure yourself out. All it takes is for me to tell you that there's an opportunity and you did it. So, but, and I use that as an example because I believe that if there are positive elders or role models or figures for, young people to look at, they're always going to go. Because a part of that whole thing there was me impressing them as well. Do you know what I mean? It was me sort of going away and sort of, let me just set up my camera. It was me just sort of like showing him, yeah, cool, I'm young, I'm 17, 18, but I can do it. Do you get what I'm saying? I came back to him, I was ready, and then he just gave me the lesson in such a concise and beautiful way. And I'm eternally grateful for that. Because he didn't actually do anything physical for me, but he gave me a jewel that I'll never ever forget.
And this is it. This is the gems that we have, and it's, it has to be passed on. What's the point of having all of those inside you and nobody's benefiting from them?
Absolutely.
And you're in a really an industry where everybody wants to be a part of it. Some people will do whatever it takes to be, in it. And sometimes it's just giving them that little kind of, let me just pull you aside and just have this little conversation with you,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for me, purpose it's to to pass on to other people as well.
Absolutely.
Your purpose should be able to impact other people. It shouldn't just be for yourself.
Definitely. I agree. 100%.
So yeah, I really feel like, yeah, it's something that we need to definitely promote a little bit more. And yeah, sharing your journey can
Mm.
really enable somebody to do that, because they can
Yeah.
see, well, wow,
Yeah,
this is what
exactly.
he's experienced.
Yeah, and
And
it
you've
allows
done
them
it
to
in
see past where you currently are. Sorry to cut you, Jay. It,
a,
it it allows them to see past where you currently are and look beyond and see where you've come from. Do you know what I mean? And
that's
maybe
it.
even just sort of find a point of identification, like, oh, 6 years ago, you were where I am now. So okay, if I just, you know what I mean? I just need to pull
If I
myself
keep
together.
going,
Yeah, yeah, it's powerful, man. It's powerful, and that's why, like, I love hearing people's backstories. Where you currently are is fantastic, but where did you come from? What's your
hmm
story? How did you get there? What did you do? Because I might be able to learn, and I listen to everyone. I've got younger cousins, you know, who are like, they're kids. So I want to know, what are you currently going through? Because you're growing up in a time that I'm I'm a parent in. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, I haven't. It's like, even for me, like when we were younger and we were doing our thing, and obviously I was in Woolwich and all this stuff was going on. Even fights and beef and things like that, we weren't pulling out as many knives as these kids are doing now. Like, we
listen,
were. It's mad.
I could just remember I went to a girls' school, so it weren't quite the same. I do remember people, like other people coming down for other people and having these big, there was no knives involved.
Yeah.
You might have got your older sister or somebody to come down to
I'm
fight
done.
somebody
Yeah.
else or
Yeah.
whatever. But you'd have a fight, and then a couple months later, you and that person were cool again.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? You were able to kind of resolve it, or the whatever your disagreement was completely went away, or you realize how petty
It
it
was
was.
trivial. Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? But these lot are, they're killing people. So there's no opportunity to say sorry or to
Mm.
resolve it, or, you know,
Yeah.
um,
By the time they
yeah,
get to think about it, they're doing 25.
too late, you know.
And the kids, a lot of them are
Um,
kids as well, like 17, 18
I've
kids.
seen, yeah, I've seen some stuff. And as I said, you know, my background, my first kind of role that I had was in youth work. You know, I worked on
Mm.
an estate in Hackney. I
Yeah.
remember going to that job. I was working in a youth club in Ilford, and it got closed down because the kids stole, because they did a lot of music
Yeah.
production and stuff. The kids broke into the youth club and stole the equipment, and they didn't have the funding to buy
Mm.
back the equipment. So they
Mm.
shut it down, and I remember I was getting paid for months because they couldn't find anywhere else to kind of, you know, place me.
Yeah.
And then I got the call that I had to go and work on Pembury Estate in Hackney.
Okay.
And I remember Marlon was like, I
You're
don't
not
want you to
going
go.
there. Yeah.
I want you to work there. And
Yeah.
do you know what? It was just an unbelievable experience. It's one that I would never forget. Not because I wasn't scared ever,
Yeah.
because I'm not scared of young people. Young people are young people. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they're some of the time, if you'd got to have that kind of conversation with them
Yeah.
at the right time and plant the right seeds, there
Mm.
could have been a totally different outcome. But there
Absolutely.
was actually 3 young people that came to my youth club that ended up, they're still in prison now. They got, I think the minimum they did, one of them was 19 years.
Murder.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you just think to yourself, these were 3 young men
Mm.
coming to the youth club. They're 15, they're playing table tennis. We used to have like the decks, and they used to like spit on the mic with their, I can't even remember what music it was. I'm trying to think, because it's not jungle, it's not
Is it
garage, it's the
garage?
next
It's
one.
not garage,
No,
no?
kind of garage, but it was kind of going into something else, because this is like 2005, six.
Or like
What is
dubstep or
that?
something? Was it dubstep?
Yeah, probably. I don't even know what it's called. That's how deep it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, they
Or
used to be
grime or
like,
something. Or grime or dubstep. That was what was popping around back then.
it was like grime. Yeah, I can hear one of the songs, and they used to play the same rhythm and have
Yeah.
this same this battle, and it was just like I can see their faces.
Yeah.
And then when I heard that this had transpired, you just think, and you know what? In
Mm.
that situation, there was the leader, this young man who had this power. And I used to
Mm.
see it and just think, what is it? He would just
Mm.
say, right, let's go. And they would all go behind him. And I used to think, what is it? What does he
Crazy.
have? Like what?
Yeah.
And it was his beef, and he kind of orchestrated this whole thing. He didn't do anything, but he pieced
Uh,
together and got them to do this thing. And you
mm.
just think to yourself, wow, how did that? So their lives are just completely wasted, you know?
Yeah. That's mad.
Um, so they're like, yeah, they will be in their 30s now, and they're
And they
still in
went in when they
country.
were in their teens.
Yep, yep. And you just think, I just feel like having conversations about what is it? What makes that fire in your belly? What do
Mm.
you love? What do you, I ask my kids sometimes, if you could do anything without any restriction or whatever, what would you do?
Yeah.
Because that's about dreaming, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
about having a dream and a vision of what you want to do,
And removing the
and
boundaries as well, removing
removing the
the,
boundaries.
the, the current constraints that they have, that they feel they have against them. Do you know what I mean? So,
And then it's like, well, what can I do in my power to
mm.
ensure that you have that? As I
Mm.
said, my son's 7. At the moment, his dream is to be a footballer.
Yeah.
Okay, if that is your dream, I
Yeah.
could be like cover people. Oh well, what's the likely? No, no, no. I'm going to
Yeah.
take you to every
Yeah.
single
Yeah.
football
Yeah. Of
training, football
course.
match,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Mm.
I'm going to do that to facilitate that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've watched the Ian Wright documentary.
I haven't,
To watch that,
I haven't. Nah.
it's powerful.
Where does it come on? What channel is it on?
I think it was on ITV. It was on last week, so you could probably get it on catch up. But
Okay. But you know what? I
I'm
love what
hoping.
Ian Wright does, because he's about the people and he always goes and links the youths, and you get what I'm saying? Like, I rate his thing still, so I'm going to check it out.
And his journey, we could. Oh, I loved Ian Wright. I wasn't even that. I didn't support Arsenal, but
Yeah.
I loved Ian Wright and what
You didn't
he
support
stood
Arsenal,
for.
Jay? What were you doing
What?
with all your years? You didn't support Arsenal?
Never.
Tottenham.
Sorry. Anyway,
Not
we're not
Tottenham.
going to do this because I don't want nobody coming for me. I'm not even
Yeah, don't turn
saying
it
what
into a
team.
football team. You'll get all these
Yeah,
people
we're not
clocking
doing
up.
that.
You get...
But what I'm saying is,
Mm.
the point to my reference to Ian Wright is
Yeah.
he was a footballer.
Yeah.
He was very gifted at what he did,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he's still fulfilling his purpose right now,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though he's not playing football anymore.
Mm.
But he's using his platform to be able to instill and inspire and encourage other people.
That's
And
what's
the documentary is about his journey and the kind of domestic violence he witnessed as a child.
okay.
Um, and it's
Oh, it's
it's
yeah, I'd
really
love to
deep.
watch that.
Yeah, really, really good. And yeah, I just love that he is able to, he's in his 50s, isn't he? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Must
Yeah.
be, yeah.
Thereabouts now. Yeah. 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 It must be. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's still being able to inspire people
Mm.
to say, look, even though I had that beginning,
Yeah.
even though my beginning wasn't great, look, oh, it's BBC. Look, I got it really wrong. Somebody's put the link on here. So iPlayer, it's even easier to get hold of. Yeah, even though I've
Okay.
had this start, my mum didn't come to watch my football. She was very negative towards him, but he still did it,
Mm.
you know. And it's being able to say, look, you might have had that difficult beginning, but
Yeah.
your end doesn't have to be like that.
Of
As
course.
long as you just keep going, you keep believing in yourself, and
Mm.
this is what this platform is for. This is what we're talking about purpose for, because
Yeah.
you know, he might have been a footballer, but he's using his purpose for something positive now.
For
Even
others.
he's changed that course of his purpose.
Definitely. And
Um,
that's what, Jay, what you're doing is incredible. So I just want to take this opportunity to say, because, these sort of conversations, they're not had. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that people talk about, but never really why, or why somebody's here, or what they feel their reason for being here is, or what direction they want to go in. It's thought provoking. I think it's important, you know what I mean? So I just want to commend you, man. I think it's really, really positive.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And for me, this is about the ones coming up. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
want my children, I want your children, I want, you know, I've got one of my best friend's daughters. We
Yeah.
went out the last half term, and she said to me that she wants to be a probation officer. And I was like, what?
Wow.
You know, where did that come from? And she's like, no, Auntie Jay, like, I really want to do it. I really want to do it. Like, when you talk about what you do and how you help people, like, that's what I really want to do. And I'm like, wow, like that. I
Yeah.
was so humbled by that.
Crazy.
Not that,
Crazy.
you know, not that I want her to go into like something that is stressful or whatever, but
Yeah.
the fact that she's seen me from a little girl,
Yeah.
I'm inspiring her. I'm making
Yeah.
her think that there's you know, you can do jobs that can help other people. So,
Definitely.
you know, for me, that's what it's about. And, you know, I want the reason why I have all different people come on here is because not everybody wants to do, you know, I wouldn't encourage anyone to be a probation officer really, but,
Yeah.
you know, some people want to be an artist.
Yeah.
Some people want to be a footballer. Some people want, we've had property developers, we've had,
Mm.
oh, what did we have? We had a midwife. We had, who did I have? We've had an actor. We've had all this wealth. Sorry, I work in mental health, working with young offenders. And let me tell you this, you walk away each day hoping they'll change their lifestyles. You see hope in so many offenders. They just need that push. Listen to me. I completely relate to you on so many levels.
Mm.
You know, they do need that push. And all it takes is one person to believe in somebody,
Definitely.
and you can change the trajectory of their life.
Yeah.
Like, I really, really do believe that.
Mm.
The words that you encourage somebody, the seeds that you plant in some people, you know, it is, I think about a couple of the young people that I worked with. Okay, there's some that are doing life, but there's two of them. I'm going to try and see if I can get them on here actually. So they're like my old young people from my youth club,
Okay.
but they are walking in their purpose. You know,
Mm.
one of them is actually doing music, and this
Okay.
young man, I've watched him just journey and progress, and I'm just like, wow,
What
to
does he
see
do?
where
Does he
he is.
rap or is he on the business
He
end? Or?
raps, yeah,
He
yeah,
raps? Okay.
he raps. And one of my young ladies, she does catering, but she does like the seafood broil thing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, listen, she
It's good.
bakes
It's
cake.
good. Yeah.
It's so amazing,
Wow.
so amazing. And I think of those young people and how all of them were living on that estate,
Mm.
and how their lives have all been so different. The
Yeah.
outcome has been different, but the story can still change.
Of
I
course.
still
Yeah.
believe, and I still have hope for those that are in prison, that they can still come out and still
Yeah.
change their life, you know,
Yeah.
and that situation could literally change the course of their life, you know.
But you said it earlier, Jay. Man, it's like it's your environment. You know, it's what you expose yourself to and what you take in mentally. Do you know
Mm.
what I mean? If you're around negativity, it's gonna multiply on you. Do you know what I mean? And that's I definitely believe that sometimes it's about some people can't necessarily see it for themselves. So what Sky was saying earlier is definitely very valid. It's about sometimes someone from the outside looking in and taking the time and the effort to just go and say, you know what, I'm gonna help you. Or I see something in you. I'm gonna make you see it. I might not necessarily do it for you, but I'm gonna make you see your potential. It's important.
You know what? You just reminded me of this little thing that I used to do with my young people.
Yeah.
And I used to say, like, you know, because sometimes they sit down and they don't make eye contact, their heads down. And I keep saying, put your head up, put your head up.
Yeah.
You're like, can't you see your crown?
Yeah.
If you don't keep your head up, the crown's going to fall off. Like,
Mm,
and that was like how we used to have this conversation. I said, look at your crown. I said, when
mm,
you look in the mirror, you need to see that crown
mm,
because you're a king, you know, and
yeah.
you need to walk like a king. You need to act like
Mm,
a king. You've got to make choices like a king, you
absolutely.
know.
Mm,
When your friends are going that way, sometimes you do have to go the other way.
yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
it doesn't mean that you are, you know, this sheep mentality is what we need to teach them, that it's okay to do something different from the rest of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Agreed.
nurture is so important in criminal behavior. Observing criminal role models will definitely lead you on the path of being a criminal yourself. It's about changing your surroundings. Listen, I've seen all sorts. I've seen people that came from a very nice family who get
Mm.
involved in crime. So,
Yeah.
you know, I've seen a lot of things, but you know, it's that definitely seeing the potential. Definitely, that's why I talk about words, and words are so important to me, because words can change things. I
Yeah.
really believe that. You
Yeah.
know, you saying something, affirming somebody, saying you've got potential, you've got, you know, somebody told you that you were good at rapping at some point,
Yeah.
which encouraged you to keep going,
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
know, and it's the
Yeah.
same. And you found your thing
Yeah.
you know, you said 7, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously
That
that.
was when you first had your kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
experience and your
Yeah.
most memorable
Yeah.
memory. But yeah, that's the
Yeah.
time that you remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, some people are lost. They don't
Mm.
know what it is that they're good at.
Yeah.
They don't believe that they're good at anything.
Well, this is the thing, and that's the story for a lot of people. And you know, even you could even tell you can tell people like, look, you're what you just did, that's sick. Or you know, why don't you follow this or follow that? And you know, sometimes it just takes a bit longer with some people than it does in others. You know, they might just need you told them once, cool. They might need you to tell them 3, 4, 5 times before they actually say, you know what, maybe what they're saying is real. You know, maybe there's something there, or maybe they might need to hear it from 20 different people, and everyone just finds it at a different time. But it will come at some point, as long as you know you're receptive and if your ears are open. Do you know what I mean? And your eyes as well. Do you know what I mean? But it definitely takes, you know, different lengths of time and different influences from different people.
I do believe that.
Mm.
And I just, you know, I think you spoke about purpose being your calling,
Yeah.
um, and purpose, you know, my definition of purpose is that it's the thing that God created you for,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
the thing that God put you on this earth for.
Mm.
But if you, for me, if you don't have a relationship with God, how are you going to find out what your purpose is?
Very true.
You know,
Very true.
it's a bit like, you know, I've got this smartphone. I don't know how to use half of it because I've never looked at the manual. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
the Samsung created my
You
phone.
remind me of my mum, Jay. She would call me like, "Oh, Jay, how do you do this one?" But she's got the latest
But,
iPhone, you know. But she don't know how to
well, this is
function.
the thing, you know, but I just, for me, I use it. But what I'm saying is, I'm sure it can do so much
More.
more
Yeah.
than what I'm aware of. It's a bit
Yeah.
like us. We're created by God. We're put here with
Mm.
all of these gifts and talents. But unless we become aware and, you know, we consult our manual,
Very
who
true.
created us, how
Very
are we
true.
going to know what we're here for?
That's a brilliant way of looking at it. You know, it's a great summary. It's true. I totally
It's
agree.
so that's the bit, you know, my encouragement for somebody who doesn't know what their purpose is. I've struggled. I thought purpose was all bright and shiny and like this kind of grandiose thing. But
Yeah,
my purpose, one of my purposes, is encouraging other people, you know, and
definitely.
it's something that I do without thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's a little tiny thing.
But then also, you can have different purposes at different points in your journey.
Definitely.
That's the other thing. So your route can change,
Yep.
but I believe the destination is always the same. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that kind of what I was saying in the blog that I wrote about purpose
Mm.
is that purpose is a journey
Mm-hmm.
that you never get to the intended destination,
Okay.
because along the way
It keeps
there's a
changing.
bump, there's a road, there's a detour. Sometimes there's a little filter lights when you're in a hurry and you want to get there.
Yeah.
But we don't need to find out what the end destination. There is no end destination.
Very
Just
true.
take note and process the journey.
Mm. Yeah.
Take note of the journey, because the journey is where you learn the most.
Well, this is
The
what I'm
journey is
saying. When
where
you
the
say that the
lessons are.
destination's the same, is like the destination is your end point. Do you know what I mean?
Where is your end when you're dead?
That's what I mean. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
is. It is.
yeah.
Which means as long as you're alive, you'll never see it as what you're saying because you're
That's true.
constantly, you're on your path. You're on your
Yeah,
winding mission. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
if you ever meet your end while you're still alive, that means you've lost your purpose.
Wow.
That's it.
We'll have to put that in a little lyric.
Yeah, come on. Free game, free game.
Yeah, I just, yeah, definitely. I so I just, for the people who are thinking, because sometimes we set goals like, oh, when I get to here,
Yeah,
like I always think of this when I have worked with like lots of people who commit offences, and they say, when I get to like when I make 1 million, then I'm gonna stop. What happens though? The goalposts moves,
yeah, exactly.
the
The
goalposts
goalposts
move,
move.
or you get caught,
Exactly. 100%.
or there's a few percentage of people who kind of get out before and do something else,
Yeah.
but that's kind of, or they something happens to them,
Yeah.
you know. um
It's, do you
but
know what,
yeah.
sorry, you just got me thinking as you're saying that because even in the, the lead song for my new project, Gratitude, I'm speaking about, the song itself is called Gratitude, but I speak about, what my goal was when we were younger. Do you know what I'm saying? That the people that I used to move with, my brethren Smart, who I'm still very close with now, just like, it's just crazy. Like, he literally just took me back, for how old am I now? So it took me back like 17 years to where I started that whole journey there, and just thought to myself, because I remember saying, you know what, by the time I'm 25, I want this, 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 and this. And I didn't get it. I didn't get far off, but that's because that's what I wanted. It's just that cliche, aim for the moon, you'll be amongst the stars if you don't. Do you know what I mean? So it's just that whole thing. But I definitely had that target, but got derailed because music. Do you know what I mean? If it wasn't for music, I might have continued doing that, and I might be nowhere right now because
Mhm.
God might have decided to teach me a lesson. Who knows?
But I do think purpose, some people pursue money and fame and success, and others pursue purpose. And it's kind of like what you was talking about earlier on, in that purpose fills you up. Purpose makes you happy. When you're walking in your purpose,
Mm,
you get up and you're happy in the morning because you're doing what you want to do.
100%.
Um, and money can't give you that same feeling. There's a lot of rich
No
people who
way.
are deeply unhappy, deeply
Yeah,
unsatisfied, you
definitely.
know. So for me, purpose, like how you spoke about it, involving your family and um, protecting and providing for them, and watching your children play and how that makes you happy. Yeah, it's about pursuing purpose. This is what I'm encouraging. Pursue your purpose,
Definitely.
and then things get added to you.
Definitely. You
That,
get
and they're not things.
their
I
blessing.
say things get added to you. They're not things. They're not material things.
No.
They're things like gratitude. You're able to be so thankful and
Mm,
grateful for the blessings that you've had. Do you know what I mean?
definitely.
When I wake up in the morning and I say, thank you, God, for waking me up to see another day. Thank you
Mm,
for, having a home, having children,
mm,
having a husband.
yeah.
There's so many things, and it's something, I work with a lot of women at the moment who suffer from depression and anxiety.
Mm,
And, one of them said to me today, everybody else is happy and I'm not happy. And everybody else, I just feel like the universe is against me and things never go right for me. And, sometimes you just have to listen and not say anything, to be honest, because
mm,
sometimes there's nothing you can say that's going to appease
yeah.
them.
Sometimes they're so convinced. Do you know what I mean? So
But sometimes it's your perspective of how you're looking at it.
yeah,
Do you understand what I mean?
definitely. The glasses should always be half full. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Should definitely always
definitely.
be half full. And it's just like, again, 100%. I totally agree with that. You could be, you could be looking at two people can be looking at the exact same scenario. It just depends on how you read it. I agree. Have you seen that
Mm.
picture with it was all over Instagram at one point where two people were digging, and then one got basically nearly all the way to the end, and do you know
To
what I'm
the
saying?
diamond mine or something. Yeah. Do you
It's
know
like,
what? I don't know why I didn't screenshot it because
mm,
that is what keeps me going, Joe. Do you
yeah,
know
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Seriously.
yeah,
Because do you know what? One of the things with purpose is that you just got to keep going.
yeah,
You've just got to keep going. You could
mm-hmm,
knock 10, 15 doors, and if you give up on the 15th door,
hundred
you might
percent,
never see what's behind the 16th door, which is the key that you've got for that door. Do you know what I mean?
absolutely,
And I think there's definitely how can I explain it? There's certain disciplines that you need to pursue purpose.
yeah. No, I agree.
That hits home. Took me until laying in a hospital bed after an attempt to take my own life to realize I have a purpose, and it's
Wow,
being here, alive and healthy. Wow.
you said that.
Thank you for sharing that and being so open and vulnerable with us.
Wow, that's
Listen,
Sky.
you've got a purpose. You're
Big up,
here
Sky,
for a
man. Thanks for sharing
reason.
that with us as well, man.
You are here for a reason, and the fact that
Wow,
you wasn't able to take your own
to
life
do it, yeah,
reminds you that God has got you here for a reason.
absolutely.
So, keep going. Um, yeah, if you need to message me afterwards, I'm happy to speak to you, because there's help out here for us. There are times when it gets hard. There's times when you want to quit. There's times when you want to give up.
Mm,
This is why I'm somebody who prays every single day, seriously. And
yeah,
I don't know where I would be without God's because yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, especially because of what has been happening in the world, and you know,
yeah.
feeling look at that. Now I'm studying mental health nursing, so life has definitely changed.
Well
Can
done,
I just
Sky,
say,
man.
Guy, you are going to be the most amazing mental health nurse. You know why? Because you've got the insight from the
Personal
personal
experience.
experience. So the way you're not doing it like how the others are. You've had to experience what you went through to be able to do your job, and you're going to do it and make amazing impact on the people that you're working with. So, and you're probably going to tell that story many times, hopefully, to the people that feel like taking their own life. So keep going. You're going to do this. And lived experience, mental health, definitely, definitely.
Jay,
Mental
you know
health
what?
is not.
That's really taken me back, because Sky's like, one of the people that really have like really supported me on my journey.
Mm,
It's really taken me back, and I had no idea. But Sky,
listen,
I'm really sorry to hear that, man. But I really appreciate you sharing that with us as well. And well done for coming out the other side and being strong enough to to really push through.
do you know what? Something I always say, pain is linked to your purpose.
Mm,
Sometimes you have to experience some deep pain that directs you onto your purpose. I
mm,
really believe that. Um, yeah, I think some of the stuff that I've learned, and even the programs that I've devised, even writing the books, has
yeah,
been a place of pain. The first book about being a mum for the first time was
yeah.
because it was something that I struggled so much with, and I
Mm,
wanted to use my experience to help somebody else in that situation, and that's what Sky's doing.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
So we
Absolutely.
really, really respect and admire what you're doing, and you will definitely be in my prayers, Sky. I have a list that I just, yeah, I put people on that list and I lift you up in prayer. So you'll definitely be one of those people.
Bless you, Sky, man.
My goodness.
Bro.
Listen, you know what? Every time I do this, God reminds me why I'm doing this.
Mm,
Seriously,
mm,
you can have these conversations, and you just don't know what's going to happen.
yeah, 100%.
You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who you're blessing. You don't know who's going to watch this back at a later date, and
100.
they might not read. I read what Sky said, so they probably will hear that actually.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm definitely gonna be following you, Sky, so that I can see when you graduate and when you're blessing other people's lives, because we need mental health nurses. The women I'm working with are struggling, you
Mm.
know, to cope, and sometimes it's just having a conversation about stuff like this that reinforces, well, actually, you've got a lot to live for.
Mm.
You know, you haven't even probably had your best days yet, you know. So yeah, you got to keep going. You got to
Yeah.
keep going. Wow, I
Wow.
think I can see Joe just feels like, I don't
Mm.
know, I can see the
Yeah,
empathy, you
that's
know.
that's taking me back, man. Like, you
Mm.
know what? And it's weird because, you know, like like you were saying earlier, like, social media is a gift and a curse, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like the gift is that you can connect with people so easily. Um, and in that, do you know what I mean? Like I said, I've sort of known Sky for years and years, but not known her, but just like known
Yeah,
of
yeah,
her, and we've, do you know what I'm trying to say? So that's like, yeah, man, yeah, I felt that.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
felt that.
But there's a reason that Sky had to be on here today, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, um, yeah, I just appreciate everybody being on here tonight. Um, we will be back again next Monday with a new guest. I actually don't know who my guest. My list is like, I had a list, and it was, you know, literally sometimes I just have stillness in the morning, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes I listen to music, sometimes it's just quiet, and I just listen and hear what it is God's trying to tell me. And the list that I had and the people that I asked were all of the names that He gave me. So you were
wow,
on the list.
wow.
There's some others who are a bit shy. I'm hoping that they might change their mind. I've been kind of like, come on, it's your turn. When are you gonna? No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go on a live. But I'm
Oh,
like, listen, you need to look past the
mm,
live, because we forget that we're live, innit? We're just having this conversation.
of course,
But
yeah.
the conversation can bless and change people's lives, as we can see, you know.
Definitely.
So I appreciate you taking the time out
No, this has
to
been
say,
beautiful, man. It's just, you know, it's been pleasurable just connecting with you, just seeing you again. I
mm,
haven't seen you in a little while. You get me? So just to have a conversation in a different format and just to
yeah,
include the opinions and the interaction of others as well. It's been brilliant, man.
it's been
Really enjoyed
great.
it.
And don't worry, the sun's coming out. May
Absolutely.
17th, two households can
Yeah,
mix.
come on, it's barbecue time.
It's barbecue time. Yeah,
Definitely, definitely,
definitely. But, you know, send my love to everybody, and we will
absolutely. Likewise,
definitely
man.
be
Definitely. I'm catch
seeing
up
you
very
soon.
soon. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks again, Jay.
thank
Appreciate it,
you.
man.
Take
All right.
care.
See you later.
Bye.
All right.